Well, hello everybody and welcome to Jeff's Baking Blog. Today I'm going to make a German sunken apple cake. So this is going to be a nice vanilla cake with some quarters of apple placed on the top, and then as the cake bakes it will rise up and encase the apples. I've seen several videos and looked at several recipes and they're all pretty much the same. With one slight difference. Some people make little slits into the quarters of apple before they place them on the top of the cake, and other people just place the quarters of apple on top. But however you want to do it is perfectly fine. So it's not a difficult recipe, and we start off by preheating the oven to 180 degrees Celsius, 160 Celsius with a fan, 350 Fahrenheit, and I've lined a 9-inch springform pan with parchment paper. So I've greased the sides and the bottom of the pan, and I've put parchment paper in the bottom. You can do it in a 9-inch cake tin and line that, but the springform pan works best for me, so that's what I've done. So I'll go on to the ingredients, and I'll start off by talking about the apples. So what I've done, I have here 4 small apples, and the apples are about this size basically, so you can see that they're not large, and I'm using Braeburn apples, and I have peeled those and I have taken the core out of the centre like that, and then I've cut them in half and then in half again into quarters, and I have put little slits in the top like that, and I've just arranged them on this plate so that I know that I have enough. And I've actually done 4 apples, but I will only need probably 3.5 of them. And once I've peeled them and slit them like that, I have taken some lemon juice, and this is the remains of the juice from half a lemon, and I've simply brushed it over the surface, and that's to stop the apples from browning before I'm ready to put them on the cake. So that's the apples and the lemon juice. And then I have 200 grams, which is 1 1/3 cups, based on scooping packed flour into a 250 milliliter cup of plain flour. I have 120 grams, which is 8.5 tablespoons of softened unsalted butter, 125 grams, 10 tablespoons of caster sugar, 1.5 grams, 1/4 teaspoon of salt, 8 grams, 2 teaspoons of baking powder, 10 milliliters, 2 teaspoons of vanilla bean paste or vanilla extract, whichever you have. And then I have 45 grams, 2 tablespoons of apricot jam, and I'm simply going to heat that up into a liquid so that I can brush it over the top of the cake once the cake has fully baked. I also have 3 medium eggs, which would be large in the USA, and that's all the ingredients. And the first thing we need to do is to make our batter. And as a prelude to making the batter, I'm going to put my baking powder and my salt into the flour, and I'm going to stir that around and get that mixed together. Then I can set that aside until I need it. So then I'm going to put my butter and my sugar into a large bowl, and I'm going to cream those together until they're nice and fluffy basically. And I'm going to do this with my hand mixer, but you can do it with just by hand or with a stand mixer if you want to. So that's the butter and the sugar mixed together. So then I'm going to pour in my vanilla bean paste, and I'm going to add the eggs one at a time and whisk those to get them combined. And the mixture may split, and it really doesn't matter, it'll all come together again once the flour goes in. So mix the eggs one at a time till they're fully combined. So that's the eggs mixed in. So then I'm going to add in my flour, baking powder and salt mixture, and I'm simply going to mix that on a low speed until it begins to become combined, and then I'll stir it with my spatula. So that's mixed through quite nicely. I'm going to put that into my prepared cake tin. And with the mixture in the tin, I'm going to spread it across the base to level it off. And that's fairly evenly spread. So then I'm going to take my apples and I'm going to place them on the cake without pressing them down. And as you can see, there will be a gap between each piece, which will allow the batter to rise up. And then fill the centre as well. Just like that. And I'm going to put that into the oven and I'll bake it for about 35 minutes. And then I'll test it with a skewer, and if the skewer comes out clean, then I will take it out of the oven. If the skewer doesn't come out clean, I'll leave it in for a further 5 minutes, for 40 minutes, test it again, and if it comes out clean, good. If not, I'll leave it for a couple more minutes and test it again. But once the skewer comes out clean, I take it out of the oven and I will brush the top almost immediately with the warmed or the heated apricot jam, just to give a glaze all over the top. Then I'll leave it in the pan for 10 minutes before I take it out of the pan and put it onto a wire rack to cool completely. And once it's cooled, I'll come back and show you the results. I baked the German sunken apple cake for 35 minutes. Then I tested it with a skewer, which came out clean. So I took it out of the oven and I brushed the top with some heated apricot jam, and then I left it in the tin for 15 minutes. Then I took it out of the tin and transferred it to a wire rack, and it's still warm, but it's cooled enough that I can cut a slice. So I've cut a slice and I'll show you what it looks like. So as you can see, it's baked up very nicely indeed, and this is the slice which I have cut. So I'm going to have a taste of this piece, and I've cut a piece out of that with the apple on it so I can taste the cake and the apple at the same time. Very, very good indeed. Those Braeburn apples are really lovely anyway, but they're softened but just have slight bite to them still, so you can still feel the texture of that. And then that lovely vanilla cake as well is nice and soft and flavourful. So this is a very, very good cake indeed. Ideal just like this, but you can also serve it with ice cream or with cream, or my preferred version would be as a dessert with custard after my dinner. So it's an easy cake to make, tastes very, very good. That's going to be it for this recipe. I hope you've enjoyed it, and if you have, please give me the thumbs up below and click to subscribe to my YouTube channel. In the top right hand corner of the screen there will be an eye that you can click on, and that will take you to a link for the recipe, and I'll put a link below the video as well, and I'll be back with another recipe in the very near future. So until then, happy baking.